Hi, it's Joy Foster, the founder of TechPixies and the host of the Sparkle and Thrive podcast. And today is an interview I've been wanting to do for a very long time. Katie Robson is not only a tech pixie, having done the social media management certification, she went on to get certified in and being a paid advertised specialist. And then she came back into TechPixies to help rebuild TechPixies as our ads manager. She's also a DreamBuilder alumni. So she's gone through the DreamBuilder program and she's been a member of the mastermind. So Katie is one of our people that have just done everything, but also has been instrumental in TechPixies really transforming over the last couple of years. And a big part of that was also getting training through a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours. And so we want to do a little shout out there as well. So Katie, thank you so much for being here today. Really where I want to start is where you were when you found TechPixies, because interestingly enough, your story resonates with so many people. In fact, it's the number one engaged with ad when we do our social media management certification boot camp, which is the social media superhero boot camp, which leads to the social media management certification. That ad of you talking about your transformation that you had by coming into the TechPixie world through our social media management certification, that ad is our most popular ad. It's been seen now hundreds of thousands of times, I believe. So why does that ad appeal to so many people? What is it about your story that is so relatable to people?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. I think it's just, like you say, it resonates with people. So people who don't know me, don't know my story, I was out of work for well over a decade. So it started off by from my early 20s to my early 30s, I suffered with chronic fatigue, ME. So I was really poorly. During that time, just to layer it on top, I had 2 children. And so understandably, I couldn't go back to work managing my own health and my 2 young children. So it ended up being a really long time out of work. I'm going to say paid work here because we all know that, I wasn't sat around doing nothing for that time, although I was incredibly poorly for especially the first half of that. But yes, I've got lots of other areas that I get involved in. But in terms of paid work, I was out of it for 12 to 14 years, I think, in total. But somewhere between having my first baby and my second baby, I started to get better health-wise. So by the time that my youngest went back into sort of primary school, junior school, the upper level of primary school, I started to think, right, I feel well enough to do something now. And I was hungry for it. I was always really driven, really career driven. And, I wanted to go and achieve things. And I just, the ill health sort of wiped away all my ambition, I guess, because you couldn't dare to believe that you can go and do anything. So I started to believe again that I could do something. So I did sort of make a list of things that I didn't know where I wanted to go, but I sort of thought, right, I'm good at these things and I'm lacking in these skills. And actually social media was one of those that I sort of said, right, although I'm on Facebook quite a lot, I actually don't know how to use it at all professionally. And I'd already identified that I needed that to go in any direction pretty much, because I always knew I wanted to run my own business. That was always a dream of mine from ridiculous age. I was 8 years old and setting up my bedroom like an office, that, I was such a nerd right back then. So so I wanted to run my own business. I needed social media. I came across a TechPixies ad. And I think now knowing how ads work, I was going out and looking for all sorts of courses just to I thought, I'm going to try everything. I'm going to just sort of see where I land with this. And in the process of going out and finding other things, the ads came and found me. So I saw your lovely picture. I did the course and it woke me up again. It kind of got me my mojo back. I became me again. I'd lost all my sparkle and I certainly wasn't thriving. So I kind of got all of that back and got the skills and sort of set off on this journey that has just kind of accelerated as time's gone on. So it's been amazing. In terms of the ad, I think I sort of talked about the fact that I was feeling stuck, that I had been out of work for so long and I was sort of directionless. I felt that, the workplace wasn't open to me because I had this big gap in my CV. I didn't want to go back anyway. And I'd already decided I never wanted to be employed again, but I just knew there was this big hole in my skill set. So I I just felt incredibly stuck. And then you came and found me. So that was great.
Well, that is the funny thing. And now that you're on the other side of the ads and you're finding people.
I am. And I love that. And I love that. I know when I put the ads together, I feel like, come on, where can I go and find those people who need this, who need their lives turned around? This isn't just marketing. This isn't just advertising. This is people's lives being changed. And that really, I really believe that. That's why, I only advertise products that I really believe in and that actually change people's lives. And that's why I've also fallen in love with online courses. As somebody who needs to work flexibly around my kids, I also, my health is fine now, thank goodness. But, there are people who need to work around fluctuating health conditions as well. And I just think digital courses are magical for being able to do that. So yes, I've fallen in love with all of it.
Well, and what I love about you is, exactly that. You care deeply about, it's not about marketing. It's not about advertising. It's about finding the person who needs what we have to offer and can have the benefit from the transformation that you've had. Because we've had so many transformations. And what we say to people is, you do the work works, and I think that's one thing that you are really, you're very diligent about doing the work. And I laugh because Katie's way more organized than me, but she's seen me get more organized for her. So it's a good partnership. But really, you've gotten better and better at finding the right people for TechPixies. And that is a real gift that you've given us. You got trained as an ads manager after finishing your social media management certification with Jess Brooks, who did manage our ads for a while. And so that was a good program for getting you started in paid advertising. And now you're developing our paid advertising curriculum for our Business Beyond Social students. So people who finish their social media management certification and want to go to the next level. What's that been like for you, being on the course creator side of things?
Yeah. So, I'm trying to find the challenge of imparting all the knowledge in my brain into somebody else's, but keeping it as simple as possible. So I'm on that journey, and I'm starting to feel more positive with that. But I really feel like I'm sitting well in this space of teaching, actually, because I remember thinking, oh, I'm never going to do paid ads. I'm scared of them. They're, sounds awful. Why would you want to do that? I had all the negative thoughts around it and spending money on it and, just everything. I guess I was so new to sort of the social media side of it at that point that just felt so far away. But what I want to bring to the teaching of it is that they're not inaccessible. They're not that difficult if you're taught in a nice, simple way, certainly to get started. And right from the beginning, they can really elevate and amplify the work that you're doing, as long as you get the strategy right, as long as you're not just, I don't believe in wasting anybody's money at all. I'm very diligent about making sure that the strategy is right, the money goes in the right place. But, organic growth on social media these days, unless you're an influencer, a full-time, social media manager, or if you are just somebody running your own small business, organic growth these days is nigh on, not impossible, but it's slow. It's like trudging through treacle, just small bits of investment in ads in the right place can just massively accelerate your growth. And we're all about the list building, aren't we? We're all about getting that attention that you get in your social media and turning it into leads onto your email list. And that is where the magic of ads comes in. And so I guess my message for today is I don't want people to be afraid of them. They're really accessible. And yeah, I'm a maths geek, though. That's my background. So I've really found my home with ads. So
yeah, I reckon you could run a really good pivot table course and make a lot of money.
I get started on spreadsheets and pivot tables.
For those of you who don't know about pivot tables, well, Katie is a complete pro on pivot tables, and it's a really fun way to analyze a lot of data really quickly. So yeah, I think that's something. I know she's not really interested in creating a pivot table course, but she could. All right, well, let's lean into who you're serving from your client perspective. You want to lean into ads for course creators. That's one of the things that's important to you. And you've got a couple clients next to TechPixies isn't your only client. You've got some other clients now. So talk to me about some of the work that you're doing outside of TechPixies.
Yeah, so I really love so I would say course creators and coaches. So anybody who's selling one-to-many in an online capacity. And again, I have to resonate with the person I'm working with. It's a very close working partnership. It's not I take that over or I take control. It's I need this from you, I need that from you, tell me about this, tell me about that. It's incredibly close, and we become really tight-knit. So it's really important about that personal connection. Who I'm working with, I have to care about what I'm selling. But there are so many incredible women out there building courses and coaching programs. So that's really exciting. Two of the latest ones I've been involved with as a lady in Canada who's a raw vegan dessert chef.
Wow.
So she's kind of at every level of niche that you can down, which is perfect. I love the ultra niche because they're the absolute easiest to market and to get good results on. She's a complete perfectionist. Her work is amazing. So she's been great fun to work with. And I did a project over the summer for a lady who's teaching, it's called Shinrin Yoku. So it's forest bathing. So she's certifying other people to become forest bathers. And that is what the joy of online courses, isn't it? They sound completely bonkers on the outside and so disparate, so diverse. But actually you get into it and it's, this is health changing stuff. Both of them are really sort of impacting people's health. And again, I really care about health. I spent all those years in bed thinking, when I get out of here, I'm going to make sure I look after myself. And I go and sort of seize the moment and make the most of every second of my life, because I've spent so much of it not being able to do anything. So yes, I really care about, especially health related topics. That's really crucial.
That's really interesting, and also really cool how you can take a challenge that you had and then turn that into a gift that you bring to the world to help expand people's health. And you've definitely done that at TechPixies. We've had some incredible transformations. So we obviously talk about different areas of life at TechPixies. Now, the reason that, you've always been on the radar anyway, but we did have an appeal to our dream builders to nominate other dream builders for people who they had witnessed have a transformation. So asking people within the community to nominate people that they thought that had really inspired them. And one of the programs you had done was DreamBuilder, and you ended up being nominated. So let's first of all talk about for the DreamBuilder Awards, which we haven't done yet, but I'm interviewing some of the people that were nominated because I think your stories are incredible. Let's talk about why, here you are, you've done social media management certification, you've done your ads training, you're now out there doing ad stuff. What was the appeal to do DreamBuilder?
Well, first of all, working with you, you're a fantastic coach, fantastic teacher. I love the program. Basically, it's the more you especially run your own business or go forward in life, the older you get, the more you realize that everything is on the inside. All the challenges that you face are in your head, in your heart, and they're not the things that we think they are. It's not the physical obstructions around us. It's all the stuff that's from our childhoods, that's in our brains, that's stopping us. And DreamBuilder is just amazing at picking apart all the different areas of that and putting it back together, putting a better perspective on it. And I think it's sort of the weekly, I can't remember how often we met now, was it weekly or every other week meetings that we had? It sort of keeps you on track, doesn't it? And it keeps you focused, and it keeps you focused on your dream and having a system. And yeah, it's fantastic. I really enjoyed DreamBuilder. I still listen to now the first course, because I've done 2 levels of DreamBuilder. I still listen to the recordings. They are really powerful.
They are really powerful. Well, and they've been developed by someone who has spent 50 years studying transformation and applying it and tweaking it and working through it. And it was the thing that, DreamBuilder for me was the thing that sort of got me on the right track with saving TechPixies in terms of turning things around and moving things in the right direction. But then once it had worked so quickly for me and so well for me, I had to bring it to the community. And it was wonderful to work with people who were willing and open to understanding that if you want to change the outside, you have to change the inside first. And I think that's been the biggest lesson for me. When I set out on the journey to help 12 women return to work 8 years ago, I had no idea what it was going to lead to. And all the ups and downs and the twists and turns, I feel were required for me to become the person I've become. And I think, you could probably say the same thing, that we have to go through all of these, what we perceive as challenges in order to discover ourselves and then come out the other side stronger, which I really believe has happened for you.
Post-traumatic growth.
I love that. Post-traumatic growth. Isn't it a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah.
That's so wonderful. Well, one of the areas that you had a lot of post-traumatic growth in was your health and well-being. And you've talked about that a little bit, but when you wrote your acceptance of your nomination for the DreamBuilder Awards, you mentioned your skin clearing up. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I think my skin issues have been probably mostly hormonally related, and it's still up and down. It's not, I did feel funny writing it because I thought, if everything happens now, I feel like a fraud. But I guess I'm on an upward trajectory with my skin. Yeah, for my face, my neck, my back, it's always been a problem area for me. And I think my hormones have been a big part of my health journey as well. But I was just amazed when we were doing DreamBuilder that I started to focus on my skin and just thought, it feels ridiculous. You sort of, how can me having a vision for it to get better and saying some things, how can that change my skin? That, like, what's that about? And I remember then sort of telling you, and you went, no, hang on, there's a video I can show you, and it's actually one of the sort of the key areas that is easy to change. Actually, it's most sort of responsive. So my mind has just flipped around in terms of what is possible in life by changing your thoughts, changing how you approach life, and just coming at it from the inside. Yeah.
And that is true. Actually, your skin is one of the easiest places to play with, in the sense of, if you want to start changing your health, you can put focus and emphasis on changing that. And you did, which is really cool. And like you said, I mean, here's the deal. And this is what I find super interesting. We've had this happen where, and this is not just the podcast, but it's also, it happened to me. So I was invited on Amy Porterfield's podcast when TechPixies hit 1 million in revenue. And it was on my bucket list. Like, I want to go and talk to Amy Porterfield on Amy Porterfield's podcast, and for those of you who don't know, Amy Porterfield's got an $85 million online course business. So she's sort of leading the way for a lot of women into creating financial independence and freedom through course creation online. And we're affiliates of hers. We've promoted her over the years. We've had several of our students go on to do Digital Course Academy, which is her program. And one of the things that happened to me was I went on to that podcast. We hit this target. She had said, when I was going through her training, she'd said, well, if you could take one course to $1 million. And I was like, all right, I'm going to be the person that does that. I'm going to take one course to $1 million. And so we hit that target. I go onto her podcast. I talked about it. And I would have to look up the exact date that I did the interview, but within 6 months, the entire business failed. And I think a big part of that, if I'm being honest, is testing your limits as a human being. So when and one of the lessons we talk about in DreamBuilder, and I think this is essential, is you can't outperform your self-image, but you can change it. And I think what happened to us is, well, I know a lot more now than I knew then, but one of the things that happened to us is we had so much success so fast. And I had no experience at that level of a success. And then the dream of mine to get on featured, it's the #1 podcast in marketing many, many weeks out of the year, to talk about, your New York Times bestseller books. Amy Porterfield's podcast, Online Marketing Made Easy, is literally a bestseller in terms of podcasts, and is on the top #1 spot very, very, very frequently, if not most of the time. And so getting a slot on there and being exposed to all of that and having achieved a major goal, I don't think I mentally was prepared for it. And so the gravitational pull back to what we know was very, very strong. And that's exactly what happened. We just completely tanked. And the good news is I had all this training and I understood the gravitational pull. I'd read The Big Leap. Which is also one of the books we recommend. The magic power of self-image psychology, which is this idea that you can't outperform your self-image. So I think it's very normal when we say out loud the success that we've had, if the inside self-image isn't fully matched up to that yet, that sometimes we sort of default back, and then we have to keep our head and focused on what we want to have happen, and then it sort of comes back to the level that we want it to be. But it can take time, especially if the self-image and what's actually happening in reality aren't matching up. It's why 90% of lottery winners, when they win the lottery, are almost broker than they were before they won the lottery within a year or 18 months, because they weren't ready for it and it wasn't part of where they were. So
just it made me think of climbing Mount Everest, because you have to do altitude training, don't you? They have to ascend the summit multiple times. They have to go up, acclimatize the altitude, and then come back down again, and then climb up and come back down again. And I think, again, you sort of realize that there are these different levels of inner work that as you progress in your business and in your, how you're transforming to be as a person, and you need to go up, see the view, taste, smell, breathe in the air, and then come back down again and again. And you're going to think you have to do that multiple times to be able to summit properly. So
yeah, that is a great point. And if you go straight up without doing it properly, you'll either die or pass out. So that's a really, really good point. And you're right. It's these levels of awareness, and we call it the spiral of awareness. And you have, or I refer to it very often within TechPixies as ladders of awareness, so the lowest level of awareness is, I want this, or I need this, and then I want this, and then I love this. So it's the language that we use has different frequencies in terms of the ability for us to be in alignment with the dream. So if we need stuff, it's going to be really, really hard to get it. And so we have to get out of need, and we have to go to want, and we have to go out of want and get to love. And it's a process, definitely a process. I do say that transformation is not Amazon Prime. And, for some people, it can happen faster than others because they are able to get their self-image to be in alignment, with who, they can get they can get the dream in alignment with who they are faster. But it's part of it's about practice. It's about daily practice. Part of it's about where your head is. And, so there's a lot of factors. Like you said, you listen to the audios regularly because the audios remind you of what you want to be true, right? And that's important. Okay, let's talk about, we've got another quadrant that we deal with at DreamBuilder is vocation and creative expression, and time, money, freedom. So have you seen either of those transform in your life? I mean, I know the answer, but
Well, yeah. So I was already on the journey of starting up my own business when I started DreamBuilder, but it's been a lovely thing to do alongside it. So yeah, I now have my own Facebook and Instagram ads agency working with online course creators and coaches, as we said. So that is growing. I'm also, I'm going to say this out loud, looking to go down the sort of the course creation route as well. So given that I am developing the curriculum for your new Business Beyond Social program, I'm going to be, making extra use of that essentially and turning it into something else. But I'm just trying to find my sort of corner of the ocean to find my own special niche. And so I'm still working on that, trying to get my head around that. But yeah, it's been amazing. So my dream was always to have my own business. I've got one. Here I am. It's going great. And I'm addicted to learning. I love, let's say, the geekiness of ads and the detail of it. And there's just sort of an infinite number of areas that you can go deep on. And I've gone deep on creative strategy and video work and copywriting and psychology, just anything you can think of. I've sort of gone deep on optimization as well. Yeah, I'm sort of just my head and my heart sort of are full of all these things, and I sort of get very excited when I get new clients. I'm like, right, now let me pull it all together and sort of kind of bring some success for you. So
my gosh, I love that so much. Well, and when you accepted your nomination, you said that you had paid off all your debts. So talk about that.
Yeah, so that isn't necessarily all for my business, although it's certainly an element of it. But when COVID hit, we got very hit hard financially. So we've got a rental property that the tenants moved out, and then I personally spent a year and a half renovating, whilst at the same time going through the TechPixie program and building my business. So that was on the other end of town. Still parenting, still not dropping a ball in any other area of my life. And, also the Christmas shows that were going on. I was like, I've never been so busy in all my life, but I was absolutely loving it. I was sort of on this high energy buzz and just, going back to, again, think of those years that I'd spent in bed, not being well enough to do anything. I thought, actually, I can either let this sink me or I can swim. So I really sort of actually enjoyed that time. So during COVID, we lost a lot of income from my husband's business. We were paying out extortionate amounts of money on this house. And, you know, I'm very good with finances, so we found a way through. But then we sort of accumulated some debt. It was manageable, but yeah, in the last year and a half, 2 years, mostly the last year and a half, we've paid them all off, which seemed like it was going to be a lot further away. So yeah, as a family unit, that has been amazing. Just what we now 2023, yeah, 3 years on, and it looks a whole lot different. And not just paid them off, but like things are
I know you were like, I'm trying to decide where to build my my wealth, which I just love that. Like, where do I put the money that now we've paid off all the debts and now we've got more than enough? And actually, that's one of the things that we talk about a lot in the abundance training in DreamBuilder. Is it's not about having enough. Like, a lot of women come into DreamBuilder, I want just enough. You know, I don't need a lot. I just want enough. And we have to get people out of that mindset. You know, like, there is so much good you can do in the world when you have more than enough. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. One of my sort of the bold things I said, I hope I get to achieve it, is I'd love to give away £1 million. That is kind of one of my dreams, is, you know, I want to be an abundant giver. And I am, you know, I have always given. It's not like it's going to be a day when I start giving, but I want to give crazy amounts of money. And again, that is that big shift in sort of, yes, paying off your debts or sort of getting comfortable in life, it is one thing, but then what's the next level? What's the next level after that? And I'm always trying to challenge my thinking and go big or go home.
Go big. Go big. Well, Sarah Blakely, who's the founder of Spanx, she has a sort of a famous quote for saying, I feel like money makes you more of who you already are. And her point was, you know, if you're already an asshole, money's going to make you more of an asshole. We probably should put explicit on our podcast now. And then if you're generous, money just makes you more generous. Like, it just highlights who you actually are. And what I absolutely love is the vision that you have, and it's a beautiful vision. And, you know, we say at TechPixies, you know, and so it is at DreamBuilder, and so it is, and we hold space for that to be true. I just thought it'd be fun to, you probably don't know who nominated you for your award.
I've had one person tell me that they nominated me.
Okay. All right. Well, so Di Schimmel, she nominated you. And here's what she said. And I think it's just always important to hear what someone says about you. She says, I'm going to try and say this without crying. I've been so impressed by the clear focus in which Katie has gone about building her business. She's built her skills and knowledge, combining her absolute wizardry with spreadsheets and databases to show how her ads are performing for her clients. She's been really clear from the first session where she wants to be and the income she wants to generate, showing determined focus about her way forward and getting there. And then she says, watching, and so the question I asked was, how emotionally impactful and inspiring is this person's transformation to you? After I asked, tell us a little bit about the transformation. And here's what Di said: watching how Katie had worked away at building a business that so clearly is going to grow and provide the income and life she'd love is inspiring. Her attention to detail is to be admired, and I can see the value in it and the way it's serving her business and her clients.
Thank you, Di. Love you, Di.
Oh, so yeah, we just want to shout out to Di for nominating Katie. And, you know, Katie, good luck in the DreamBuilder Awards. You've had some beautiful, that's just, I think you've just epitomized what being a dream builder is all about. And I, you know, what I love about you is your willingness and your desire to learn and apply what you've learned. And that's where we see the cross section of success, right? Is someone's willingness and desire to learn, and then the opportunity is there and they take it. And we've worked together, and long may that continue, because I've said to Katie a couple times in very emotional voicemails, like, TechPixies wouldn't exist if you weren't in the background, you know, just because she really took very seriously her job and her role of finding the right people for TechPixies. And I'm super grateful for that. So Katie,
I'm grateful for you, Joy. You've been transformational in my life. So, you know, again, going back, DreamBuilder pairs back to where I was. I was so, you can't imagine how low I was, so how directionless I was. And life is looking very different now because of you, because of DreamBuilder, because of everything that you do with TechPixies. So thank you.
And because of you, because you've taken everything and poured yourself into it. So it's like you said, it's an intimate relationship. It's a joint effort. And I think that's really important to understand. Oh, one thing I wanted to talk about before we wrap up. One of the things we did, which I loved, was in a coaching session, we were talking about your vision board. And I encouraged you to put sort of empty faces on your vision board. And then as you got clients to fill them up, and it's the background for and you were going to put it on your computer. So tell me how that's going.
Yeah, so it's still there. I need to update it, but yeah, so I put.
You need to update it with more heads.
I need, my thing is I'm changing where I'm taking the business, so that I kind of need to change it in relation to that. But yeah, at the time, I sort of the goal that I wrote down was I want 5 one-to-one ads management clients, and so I put there was on Canva, there was a graphic of a head with a question mark in it. So I put placeholders and I made it the background on my computer desktop. And then as and when clients came in, I would grab their picture off the internet and put it in the space. And yeah, it's been brilliant. And my son would come in and go, oh, we got another client. So yeah, it's been great for them to see it as well.
Yeah, I love that. That's so much fun. Well, yeah, someone in our social media management certification program, she posted a picture of herself holding a certificate, and she said, my 9-year-old caught me taking this selfie. And she said, you never know how you're going to inspire others. And I think those vision boards are really important to have them around because your kids get excited about them. You know, my kids are all very excited about the plans on my vision board. So, you know, now I've got to live up to them. I also want to just acknowledge the people who are watching live. So I really appreciate that you are here. Sarah says, what a lovely idea, nominating Dream Builders. Yes, so we have this is our first year of DreamBuilder Awards, which is super exciting. And Clara, who's also one of our Dream Builders, says, 100%, I've been ill for a long time, and I'm now starting to come out the other side. Every day is a new day, baby steps all the way, getting there. I love that. And then Dawn says, as a new Dream Builder, I'm inspired by your story and your transformation. So Katie, thank you so much. I really super appreciate you being here. Any final words that you want to share? Also tell people where they can find you, because I think people might be listening to this thinking, oh, I'm interested in paid advertising and I want to find out more. Maybe they're in your world. Who are you looking for, and where can they find you?
So I'm mostly on Facebook and Instagram, funnily enough, because I do Facebook and Instagram ads. So as it says on the screen, I'm at Katie Robson UK. So come and find me there. I do work with one-to-one clients currently. So, you know, looking for online course creators and coaches who have launched, who've got a successful launch, but they want to ramp it up, they want to scale it, they want to amplify their launches and put some good spend behind it and go big, go big with their launches. So that is sort of my ideal one-to-one client, but I am also looking to go down the route of sort of teaching ads to the same audience, but people in a much earlier stage. So how to build your audience, how to build your email list by using low-cost ads in the right way. So that is kind of the route I'm going down. So if you, I don't want people to be, I guess my final message is, I don't want people to be afraid of ads. They're really not scary. It's just about, again, amplifying what you're doing with your social media and using it to create greater impact. And to bring more traffic into your world. So I'm going to try and demystify that. I need to write this course now, Joy. I've said a lot about it.
But nothing like going on a podcast.
Oh gosh, it didn't happen. No accountability. So yeah, come into my world. Come and follow me if you're in any way vaguely interested in ads from the very beginner end, right to the I don't want to do it, you do it for me. And I'll be building more free resources as time goes on as well. So yeah, stay in my world. Come and follow me at Katie Robson UK on Facebook and Instagram.
All right. Thanks so much. And you will not regret being in her world. It's a great world to be in. All right. We're going to close on that. Thank you, Katie. I really appreciate it. And wow. Well, it's really always a pleasure for me to get to connect with our alumni in any of our programs. But of course, I love it when people have done all the programs and really are thriving now. And it just is a huge testament, not only to the person, but also to the work that our team has done in developing programs that transform lives. We've been at this since 2015, and we've got a dedicated team of coaches. Katie is one of our coaches in our Business Beyond Social program, having done all the programs. She's very well versed in the way that we do things at TechPixies, which is why I invited her to be the ads manager at TechPixies, but also the ads coach in our Business Beyond Social program. I can't stress enough, that transformation is not Amazon Prime. I had someone message me recently that was just desperate to go back to work, and they wanted to jump on the course and get the job. And sometimes it happens. Sometimes people jump on the course and they get the job. I've got a woman right now in our DreamBuilder cohort. She did our vision workshop, and she then came on to the DreamBuilder course. And by the third week of DreamBuilder, she messaged me and she said, I got the job. Like, I can't even come to the calls anymore. And she had to readjust her schedule so she could come back onto the calls with her new job. So it is possible to get things in alignment and moving in the right direction quickly, but it can also take time. And what I find is the best is to find a system of support that works for you. Find a coach that works for you. Spend time with them over an extended period of time. Obviously, if they're not working for you, you don't stay with them. But one of the things I have to say is I have personally been working with the same coach and coaching team in terms of me being a student of them with the Brave Thinking Institute. So you might see it here. I just won won an impact award with them, which is impacting 50 lives through the DreamBuilder program. In reality, we've impacted over 105 lives through the DreamBuilder program. But the impact award at Brave Thinking Institute goes 50, and then 150, and then 300. So I've got a ways to go. But if you want to have a life transformation, my suggestion to you is this: find a coach that you resonate with, that you love. Maybe it's going to be me. Maybe it's going to be TechPixies and the team that we've built up. We've built up an incredible coaching team. Almost everyone on our coaching team has been through our programs and had a transformation themselves, so they know what it's like. It's an amazing experience to work with someone who's been through a transformation themselves, because transform people, right? So what my suggestion to you is find someone that you resonate with, and ideally go on a long extended journey with them, right? If your coach is a good coach, they're going to be up-leveling themselves as well, and they're going to take you on that journey. And I'm not for everybody. TechPixies isn't for everybody. But if anything that Katie said resonates with you, then you're probably right for TechPixies, because she's a perfect example of someone who is a wonderful addition to our community, but also is now leading in our community. So reach out to us, support@techpixies.com. We've got all sorts of opportunities. We've got our social media management certification program, which is an 18-week program to get up to speed with social media, to be able to launch a social media campaign organically, which you need to know how to do in order to do paid advertising. We have our Business Beyond Social program, which is once you've mastered social media and you want to actually build the business side and get more customers and start generating revenue and start using paid advertising, that's the program that we offer there. And really in between is our DreamBuilder program. It's a requirement to do Business Beyond Social that you've done our DreamBuilder program, because there's a certain way of thinking that's really important. So anyway, if you're interested in any of those programs, just email us at support@techpixies.com. Very happy to jump on a call with you, have a conversation about where you are, what we can do to help you. But just know we're here for the long term. And this is a long-term relationship. And it's really about helping you get unstuck, like Katie said, and getting you going in the right direction, and then supporting you all along the way. That's what's really important to me. So thank you for listening to this. And I look forward to working with you. And if I'm already working with you, I love working with you. You know that. And it's wonderful to see all of you live watching and commenting on the podcast, because it's super fun to have a live audience. So thank you very much. And if you're not listening to this live and you're listening to it on the podcast or on replay, I'm super grateful for that. Thanks again for listening. Have a great week. And we'll see you next week with our next edition of the podcast.